All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Leadership Blend television show with your host, Rick Holiday Rice. And today we're veering into sports. Now, everybody knows I'm a nerd, so sports is not my thing. But you know, it doesn't mean you can have friends that do sports. So today we're looking at women in sports. And this person sitting across from me, she's like a big annoying sister that you have to love because she's like a teddy bear. And I'm actually proud that she's here because she hates interviews. And it's okay. We know you hate interviews, but I'm so honored to have her here today. So I'm going to let her introduce herself, and we're going to take it from there. So tell everybody about you.
I'm Tamika Milburn. I am the commissioner of the Women's Professional Basketball Association. We actually started last year. We haven't really had a chance to play a full season yet because of COVID. So we're trying to kick off this upcoming season, our 2021 season. That's it.
Really? Oh my God. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Like, you're being modest. You're your commissioner, but you own teams. You've done the whole nine. Which the thing that always makes it funny for me about you is you don't play sports.
No,
that's the part that's funny to me. You don't play sports, so you've never played basketball or anything of that magnitude. So let's start from the beginning. Like, what made you want to get into it? How did it happen? All that good stuff.
What really made me get into it was definitely not the sports, not basketball. It was, I've always loved working with kids. When I lived in Indiana, I was a foster parent, decided I didn't really want to keep doing that because I didn't really agree with how the state treated the the foster kids. So when I moved here, I started a nonprofit for girls, and that's really, my heart is with young girls, especially young girls of color. I started a nonprofit organization with girls. I was able to meet a few former WNBA players who, as I learned them, as I got to know them, their transition from college to the pro level and then from the pro level to the real world was very, very difficult. So, you know, they were kind of like superstars in the basketball world, but when they got out of the basketball world, it was very difficult for them to make that transition. So as I'm working with girls, back then I was a personal trainer. I did sports performance training. As I'm working with these girls who want to play these sports and I'm looking at the end result of these women, I'm like, I don't really want my girls going into the sport and then being devastated by it or disappointed by it or not being prepared for it. So we created programs to help girls transition from high school to college. And one of the ways that we wanted to be able to help women transfer from college to the pros and then from pros to the real world was to create the basketball teams that I owned in Atlanta and in Philly, and we played in a different league. But in that program, what we've been working on is career assistance, resume building, how to brand yourself, how to market yourself. So when your basketball career ends, I always tell the kids, the ball is going to stop bouncing one day. Then what? You know, it also gives us an opportunity to have women who have played at that level to come back and mentor our girls and to give back to the community and to, you know, especially, you know, with women's basketball, it's really hard if you're not a basketball fan. So one of the things that we're able to do is we're able to get in the community and work with people who may not necessarily be fans, they may not like the sport, but they like our players. So they'll come to the games. You know, they'll support the organization. So, you know, it gave me an opportunity from working with the girls and understanding the life cycle of women's basketball to give back to the girls, give back to the community, but also being able to help these pro players transition from basketball into the real world.
So let's be clear, because you're a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
You've been, how long were you in the military?
I was only in the military for 7 years and 19 days.
How do you know it down to, the seconds in the minute too?
I don't. I was devastated when I got out. I got out because I got on a medical discharge. I got sick and I had to get out and I planned on retiring. And like these athletes, I was lost. I didn't know what I was going to do in my life. I never planned on leaving the military. Like, it was up to me, I'd still be in. They probably would have made me retire by now. But I mean, that transition from the Air Force to the real world, that was my first real job. You live in base housing, you live in the dorms, and even with having kids, everything is pretty much not given to you, but it's structured so you know where things are coming from. So for me to have to, leave the military and go into the real world and try to survive, that was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Fortunately, I had really good people around me, and that's what we're trying to be. We're trying to bring really good people around these women who are transitioning so that they can have the support that they need.
Well, let me ask this. So, because I had a pro baseball player, D. Brown was here, and he was talking about the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Do women basketball players, because we all know it's not really as popular as the men, do they still experience that? Like, they're used to the nice cars, nice houses, then it all kind of stops when the ball stops, and now they're trying to is it the same problem? Is that the same issue, or is it something else?
The money's not the same, so they may not have all the nice things, but there are women who make really good money. And yeah, it is the same thing. We have a player who was making, pretty good money overseas, making $8 to $10 grand a month overseas. And when you get out, if you haven't managed that money wisely, it's gone. And now what? Now you have to find a job making $12 an hour. You know what I mean? Like, you know, so it's like, it is kind of the same. Obviously not on that big scale as men are, but, yeah, because, you know, women's basketball, you know, in the United States doesn't pay as much as overseas. So even though they play in the WNBA, they play overseas, they're making that transition to where now you don't have the car provided, you don't have the house provided for you. You know, you're not making that salary. And then again, you're trying to find a job in the real world.
So what's the name of the organization with the young girls?
We're excited. I
gathered that.
It used to be Atlanta's Young Misses. We've actually taken the Atlanta part off because we're going to be in different cities across the country. So we're just calling it Young Misses now. And what we do is we work with girls in any extracurricular activity. So I don't care if it's basketball, playing the violin, whatever it is girls are interested in doing, we're making them better. And we're also teaching them to manage their workload, their extracurricular activity, and preparing them for college. The whole goal is to get these girls scholarships, some type of scholarship, whether it be academic, athletic, whatever it is, a music scholarship, get them scholarships and get them prepared to go to college and prepared to go, you know, to be successful in college while doing their sport or playing their instrument or whatever. Because it's extra work in college, especially as a freshman. You know, especially if you're playing sports, you have practices, you have whatever classes you have. And then as you go into your college career, you have labs and things. And it's hard to manage. So we're working with girls now to teach them how to manage and to be successful and to keep their self-esteem high, teaching them even now how to brand themselves, how to market themselves, the importance of branding and marketing themselves, even in high school, or learning how to do it in high school.
Okay, so we're both older. So what do you find? I mean, you must be real. Yeah, you old. I mean, you must be real about you old. I mean, we're older. So working with these young girls now, like, what do you see that was different from when you? You got to give me that look. Like, what do you see? Because last week we talked with Dr. Aisha Dickerson, and she was talking about the suicide rate for African-American women and African-American children has skyrocketed, especially black women, successful black women, is like 126%. So what are you seeing working with these young girls that differs from when you were their age?
It's the same answer. It's social media. Social media is the devil. It is. You know, it's funny because we just went and we tried to have like an intervention with one of our girls because something that was going on with her. And you can tell that she's seeing so many different things on social media where people are just getting stuff so fast. And you don't really see the work that goes behind it, you know, and I tell even, you know, with what I do, yeah, you see what we do on social media, but you don't understand. Like, I literally have been in tears for the past 6 to 7 months. You know what I mean? But people don't see that sweat. They don't see that pain that you go through. They just see the end result. So kids are looking at the end result and they don't see how much work they have to put in. And it hurts them. You know, it's like, why can't I have this? They have it. Or why can't I do this? They're doing it. But they don't understand what it took to get there.
What's that whole microwave society thing?
It is. That's exactly what it is.
I tell you that about like YouTubers because everybody's go-to now is, oh, you know, are you trying to get to a YouTuber and get paid from YouTube? Do you know how many subscribers you have to get paid from YouTube? Like, that's not something you up and do. I was like, and most people that have made it, if you go back and look at them, they've been doing this for like 5 and 10 years. It was just that one video that shot off. I'm like, so it's not really something you aspire to. Right. If it happens, great. We're going to take our first break. And when we come back, we're going to have more of Miss Tamika Milburn on the Leadership Blend television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, so when we left off, we were talking about working with young kids. Oh, for those that didn't see the first segment, this is Miss Tamika Milburn. She is the commissioner of the Women's Professional Basketball League. Is that right?
Women's Professional Basketball Association.
League Association is
AL. You know, there's a little bit of a difference.
So that's whatever. So when we left, we were talking about working with young ladies in your nonprofit. So what did y'all do with COVID that happened last year? What were y'all able? Why is everything an eye roll with you?
I know. Look, the whole year has been an eye roll.
Literally, literally. What were y'all able to do?
Well, with our kids, we did, you know, it's really funny because yes, there was COVID, the situation, but with our girls who play, summer basketball didn't stop. Like, they still played. Like, AAU, they still played. Personally, I wasn't going to have our league play and our teams play because, like I mentioned to you earlier, I don't want to be responsible for a super spreader event. And, you know. And
they'll track you.
Yeah. And then once we started going along and finding more about COVID, like, I don't want to be responsible for killing anybody either. You know, so what we did is we did a couple of things online on social media. We did a fitness challenge with the league that it was cool because we did one of the challenges and our girls were able to be right there watching the the player participate from Atlanta. We just finished up. We did a coach's corner from at the end of last year. In the beginning of COVID, we started doing online tutoring for kids. And when I say it was for the kids, it was really for the parents, because most of the parents my age can't do 6th grade math. So
that's concerning. That's concerning, but okay.
No, it's not. Have you seen this new math?
Well, I figured you said like geometry or something. That's not in 6th grade, is
I'm
it?
talking about this new basic math that they have. That it's just, look it up. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't even make any sense. So we started with the online tutoring to help parents kind of, because parents started working from home and the kids were at home, and it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, everybody trying to kill everybody.
A mom, teacher, lunch lady, hall lady, gender. It was just ridiculous. So the tutoring was to help, ease that. We didn't really expect that COVID was going to last this long.
Literally, like we were going to like year 1. This is like a full year. March is a full year. It's like a full year.
Yeah. So we've been trying to just increase our social media presence. We've still been, keeping track of our girls. A lot of them weren't in school, so we've been keeping track of them, making sure that obviously their grades are staying up and things like that. We haven't been able to get them together as much. We'll actually start in the next couple of weeks with them again. But, COVID's kept everyone pretty much home and
wanting to kill each other. It's, I think Aisha was saying that they have she has more clients now than she ever did because of COVID. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're actually working on getting our girls in. So we're going to start doing group therapy sessions with them, because it's hard. It's hard for kids. I have a 12-year-old at home, so it's hard for her to just be cooped up in the house. And then the school, I pulled her out of her school and she's at a different program, but you have to be sitting on the computer actually learning via the computer for all day. And that's really, really hard. Yeah,
I substitute from time. Don't ask me why. I got sucked into substituting, and it was amazing I had a 1st grade class, and I had like 6 kids on a screen, and I had about 10 kids in class. So I literally had to figure out, the teacher had to leave lesson plans for both sets, which wasn't that great. So I was like, let me just wing this. It wasn't. I didn't call her name. I don't remember her name anyway. But I was like, let me wing this.
You're not going to get another substitute teacher job. You keep talking.
I'm just saying. And I had to figure it out. I was just like, so I had the kids online. They were doing math. So I had the kids in class doing the actual math quietly, and then I had to read out because they couldn't find the assignment. So I had to read them the numbers, and it was amazing because one of the kids' mom was standing right beside him, and I made them be interactive. And I would call him, he's just spinning in the chair, and his mom is standing right there. I'm like, ma'am, I'm calling his name, and he's in a whole nother world. He's gonna be lost when the teacher gets back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I don't get it. But
I literally had to sit next to my daughter to make sure she was doing her schoolwork. I really went through 6th grade last semester. This semester she did a different program, and it's a lot easier for her because it's at her own pace. But I literally went through 6th grade all over again. I'm sitting there taking notes, teaching her how to tell. I'm like, this is crazy. It's hard.
Yeah, I probably would have called a tutor in or something.
And her tutor was virtual. They weren't coming to the class. To the house.
Oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
Not a good thing. All right. So how did you end up owning teams? How did we get there?
Same, like I said, I wanted to purchase the teams. I was watching some of my trainers who were working for me when I was working directly on the court with the kids as a personal trainer, and just they were playing in other leagues and on other teams, and they just weren't happy. And I wanted to be able to have teams again full of women who were going to be able to come in and actually give back to the kids and work with the kids and things like that. So I was like, I'll try it. What else do I have to do? So I just, a couple of the players that they asked me to start a team, and I did. I started the one here in Atlanta, and if I did it, we were pretty successful in our first year in Atlanta. So I was like, if I can do it in Atlanta and work with kids in Atlanta, then I have to do it in Philly because that's where I'm from, and be able to work with kids. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that yet because of COVID, but we're looking to do some things this year. We've partnered with some nonprofits that we'll be working with. One of them's out in Philly. It's called LP3, who they provide housing for homeless veterans. So we'll be able to do things as a team and as a league. But it was really, like I said, I started the team basically because I just wanted to be able to do something more for women.
What does that process look like? What does that process look like? Like, what do you go what does that look like?
It really just depends on the league. Usually, the leagues has their fees and they have their rules, and yes, you're going to do this, X, Y, and Z, and then you pay these fees. So it's really not as difficult as it sounds. It should be. That's one of the things that we're working on as we start over this year, because we're starting completely over from scratch with some of the new folks that we brought in as far as building teams and getting teams. The process is going to be a little bit more difficult. It's going to look a lot different than even when we started last year. So just because we want teams that can function more independently, that, we don't have to kind of not hold their hand, but just watch the whole, while they're doing what they're doing. So it's going to be more difficult, but it wasn't that hard of a process.
All right, so we're going to take our second break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Tamika Milburn on the Leadership Ben Television Show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, so we're back with Commissioner Tamika Milburn. I like the way that sounds, Commissioner Tamika Milburn. All right, so let's get into what is a commissioner. What is your job? What do you do?
My job is basically to run the league, to make sure that we have the sponsors we need, the marketing is getting done. It's basically like the CEO of an organization. The people in place, my job is not to have daily conversations with everyone, but to make sure that we have the league.
You just had to bring that up.
Just make sure the league has what we need to be successful. And a lot of that is putting the right people in place. And for me, it's putting people in place who can, I know my strengths and my weaknesses, and one of my weaknesses is conversations with people. So, communication.
I didn't want to be the one to tell you that, but I didn't want to tell you that. People
who know me know that, like I said, we just brought Jermaine Jones on as our general manager. He's known me for years, so he doesn't expect me to talk to people. He does it for me. So just, my job is to make sure I have people in place who are going to help the league be successful.
So let me ask this. What does the Women's Basketball League Association look like in Atlanta? Like if a woman wanted to play basketball, what does that look like in Atlanta?
As far as our league?
Just in general and then your league.
So it depends on the pro level. That's the thing. There's a lot of different leagues and they play at different levels. We personally are looking for pro athletes, those who have been drafted by the WNBA but necessarily didn't make it. We have to remember that there's 12 WNBA teams, there's 12 people on each team. There's only 144 spots for female athletes of that caliber to play. So we want to provide another alternative to them. So we're looking for those type players, those WNBA type players who just didn't make a roster, not because they weren't good enough, but because there wasn't a spot. Or because they have some retired people filling spots that aren't really playing. But
that was low key shade, but okay. that was low key shade, but okay.
So we want to provide an alternative to the WNBA. We're not trying to compete with them, but we do want to provide an alternative for women to play, and not just to play, but they hone their skills so they go back overseas when our season ends, our playing season ends. But also, like I said before, just to kind of help them make that transition. So it depends on what league you're looking at as far as what it looks like for us. We want pro athletes, we want pro coaches, so when we have tryouts and we start doing combines and things like that, we're looking for the professional athlete. We also obviously recruit kids from out of college, which is, to me, that's really, really important because now you're putting those college kids who don't have pro experience yet around pro players again to help groom them. And that's something that's really important to me is these college kids aren't coming in and they're just lost and on their own. They actually have support system via those pro players who have been where they are, just starting their professional career. But, they still have to be able to play.
Okay, so technically, y'all and WNBA are technically on the same page.
As far as playing and caliber of players, yeah. We take more of a grassroots approach. Like I said, in the cities, in the communities, we're more active, again, for several reasons. Number one, because that's what's important to me. And number two, because this is a business and that's what helps drive sales. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have enough women's basketball fans to fill our stadiums, who's going to fill it? So we have to go out into the community. We have to make friends in the community. We have to bring people like you who may not be a sports fan, but it's going to be a great event and a great environment. Because it is. It's it's an interactive event. Our players, I love a lot of our players just goofy. They interact with the fans during the games, So it's a fun event. So even if you're not a basketball fan, you still want to go. It's funny because in Philly, we were filling our stands and a lot of them, they didn't even know which team to cheer for because they weren't basketball fans. It was just a fun environment. So for us, that's one of the difference between us and other leagues, is that we're more in the communities. We want to make a social and even an economic impact on our communities.
So y'all are the only league in Atlanta?
No, you have the WNBA in Atlanta.
So I don't know nothing about sports. So that's why I'm trying to paint this picture for those who are like me, who are really just dumbfounded.
So yeah, the Atlanta Dream is in Atlanta, and there's other leagues. I ain't gonna call their names out, but there are other leagues in Atlanta.
Wait, I thought Atlanta Dream is not a team?
It is a team. It's a team, but it's in Atlanta. Like our league, yes, is in Atlanta, but we also have an Atlanta team. So the Atlanta Monarchs is the Atlanta team, and then the league is we'll have teams in different cities around the country. But the WNBA team in Atlanta is the Atlanta Dream.
Oh, okay.
Who I am going to say I'm really excited about them because I'm just going to throw this out there. Renee Montgomery just became a part of their ownership team. And she's
so they pushed
player.
out
Kelly Loeffler.
Kelly Loeffler.
And I am super excited about that because that's one thing that our girls have to see is us in those positions, us on ownership teams, us making these decisions. So for her to be able to have that opportunity, I think it's really awesome.
Which brings me to my next question. So owning, and I'll go back to when you owned the teams. What was that like? Because, in essence, we think this is a good old boy club. We used to see them sitting up in the skybox and the players kind of making them money like little dollar signs. So what was that like for you to be a woman that owns 2 teams? What was that like?
It was hard, but I mean, because it is, when you look at the WNBA, that's backed a lot by the NBA. We started off from the beginning and with pretty much nothing. It was just an investment, a small investment we put in, and like we worked. I had a group of people who just worked their butts off. I had people who were just working for nothing just to build where we're going. It became even harder. COVID made things so much more difficult, but it was hard. It's very difficult. I think our focus is. I'm not going to say our focus is not on making money because it definitely is, because we are a for-profit, So, but our focus is so much on the community that we have a passion for it, So it helps make it easier, but it is a lot of work. It's a lot, and it's a small community. It's women's basketball is a small industry. It's a small community, so everybody knows everybody. We all know that my mouth, I tend to piss people off. So no.
No.
So it's like that's another reason people speak for me. But it's like but I have certain goals, and it's not always basketball. So I can't really have conversation with everybody pertaining to the league and to teams because I don't have basketball conversations. So for me, it's difficult because I understand the role of basketball. I understand what basketball can do for young girls and for young women. I don't really I understand the sport, but that's not really what I'm interested in talking about. So for me, it's very difficult to own the team and then to be the commissioner because I don't talk basketball. I talk, what can we do in the community? How are we making money? How are we able to, we want to be able to pay players. We want to pay coaches. How are we going to be able to do that? It's not just dribbling the ball.
All right, on that note, we're going to take our last break. And when we come back, we're going to get into a little more stuff on the Leadership Blend television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. All right, so we're back in our last segment with Commissioner Tamika Milburn, and we were talking about, we were painting a picture of what the Atlanta scene looks like. Like I said, I don't follow basketball at all. Mm-hmm. So trying to wrap my head around what it looks like, especially as it pertains to young female athletes who want to get into basketball, I think that's where I want to end this last segment. So this pipeline. So what does this pipeline look like? The one that you want to create, because now that you have the power to create all these things. Actually, let's go there, because you said you want to recreate a lot of stuff. I mean, you're a commissioner. It's a nice title. It's a very nice title. Actually, how did that happen? How did you end up being, because you went from owning teams to being commissioner. How did that happen?
We just weren't satisfied with the leagues that we were in. And, we were showing up to games and there was no fans in the stands, or we would show up to a gym and they were like, oh, it changed at the last minute. So we're going all the way to another state, and it's like, it just wasn't. I want something that's going to be professional and more organized, which I'm really thankful. That's one thing I am thankful for COVID, because it allowed me to get us to the point where we can be a lot more professional and organized. We had a lot of time to kind of regroup, and like I said, we'll be starting over with teams and things like that, and in different cities. So I just want it to be, when I say that we want to be an alternative to the WNBA, I mean, even in the terms of professionalism, what the games look like, what the coaches are wearing, the uniformity and things like that. Just, I wasn't satisfied with the other leagues as far as what they were doing and the level of professionalism.
So you just went and started your own?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Yeah, I did it.
I mean, you're special. So we're not saying you. Oh my God, here we go. I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying, like, in general, somebody want to start a league.
They can do it if you have the people in place, the backing, the support.
That's these things sound so much more complicated than you made them seem.
The complicated part is not the starting. The complicated part is actually bringing it all to fruition. It's making it actually happen. Because everybody has a dream. Everybody has their vision. But to actually be able to put it on paper and then make it actually work, that's the hard part. And like I said, I'm thankful for this past year, because I don't know, honestly, if I was really ready in 2020 to start. Now I think I'm more prepared, and I have, I know what I wanted it to look like, but I don't know, even with myself, like I had to do some inventory of myself, and my ability to lead, number one, during a pandemic, which I don't really think I was that great at, but I wasn't. We all have our personal things, and there was just so many bad things happening that even I got into my head. So it was really difficult. So I've actually had time to take some inventory, and figure out how we move forward. And but it helped me a lot. But like I said, it's easy to start. It's putting it out there, making it happen, and then sustaining it, which is really hard to. You have to keep fans, you have to keep sponsors. We lost sponsors when COVID started. We lost our uniform sponsors. I had promised team owners, we were supposed to give them uniforms. We lost our uniform sponsor. They just fell off. Fortunately, they're back. They came back just this last week. They sent me a message, was like, we're back, which is fine. And they said they struggled during COVID. So I can't be mad at them because I struggled during COVID, So it's really just about making it work. That's the hard part, not the starting. The starting is easy. You just give a little monetary, investment. It's not that hard. It's getting it done and sustaining it.
So what is your vision for the organization for this year? Like what should it look like?
So for this year, we're looking at, and we're adding more teams. Jermaine Jones is actually coming in and he's helping us to recruit teams by, who are going to be owned by people who, like I said, know how to run teams, understand the sport, and can actually handle the business side. We're not going to play a full season again because we want to make sure we limit our liability as far as COVID, and we want to follow the experts, So if we have to limit what we do, which we are going to limit that. But we will be having a couple of marketing events, league events, that we'll be putting together. We have a great new group that we're working with called Stay Hosting, who's helping us with our marketing and some of our online presence. We have, Leslie, who I absolutely love, because she's hanging in there with me through all these different.
You talking about homie Leslie?
Leslie Top.
Shouts out to Leslie Top.
Top PR firm.
Okay.
We are going to shout her all the way out, because she has been it's been a very difficult time and she hasn't gone away. And I probably talk to her less than I talk to anybody,
I say, wait. So I was like, so I talked to Mika and she's singing your praises to me and I introduced y'all and she's singing your praises to me. I'm like, how does that happen?
I love her. I do. She's very sweet.
She's fun.
Yes. Leslie top PR firm. So, but we have people that are around that are in place now. And, so this season we're looking at, like I said, a couple of events, or maybe like 4 or 5 events that not with a lot of fans. And then again, just staying in the community, what we can do to help the kids, what we can do to help the communities come back from COVID. If we have to, get people, just to, just to help do some basic things. We have to give out food or whatever it is, because we know some people are having really hard times. We're going to do whatever we can to help the community.
All right. So tell me about this Heart of a Champion. There you go with these facial expressions. So tell me about Heart of a Champ, because I know you did it last year. I was a part of one with Dr. Holden. So tell me, what is it?
So this year, the Heart of a Champion is we are highlighting phenomenal women in the community, not just athletes, but women in general who have fantastic stories, who may be from, anywhere. They can be from, a country or a farm in Iowa or in the inner city of Philadelphia or Baltimore. And they've used their experiences and their life experiences and their lessons to become successful. And success, I'm not saying just having a lot of money. Success looks like a lot of different things. You know what I mean? So, we're highlighting them and we're showing these stories because we want our kids and we want people to see that regardless of what's happened with COVID, people can still thrive. Yes, we all go through our things and we're going to keep going through those things, but people can still thrive. And it's also about bringing women together, So we want women watching these shows. We want women supporting each other. So to me, it's a great series that we're doing this year. Last season was our first one and we kind of did it because it was like, oh no, what are we going to do? We can't play. We need something to keep our presence. This year it's on steroids. Like, Stay Hosting is working with us. They're a great production team. Awesome. The guy, TJ Baker, is helping to keep it organized. They'll be doing the interviews and everything that needs to be done. It's like a whole entire, actual production crew. So, and we have some phenomenal women that I am not going to tell you about just yet. We're going to.
Rude.
Oh, it is. When I tell you that these women are women that I would never even imagine myself in the same room with them, so.
Are you going to be doing interviews?
No.
Oh.
I'm not doing anything.
I was about to say, you actually do interviews? I'm going to pay good money to sit and be a fly on that wall.
No, I'm not.
Be a fly on that wall.
No, Stay Hosting is going to do all of the interviews and they're going to do everything. But we do have some phenomenal women with some phenomenal stories. It's a feel-good series. I think we're going to do 12 to 15 episodes this season, something like that.
How are people going to be able to watch?
Starting in May. Well, we're going to start in May. We'll put all the information out there. They can follow us on Facebook at the WPBA, on Instagram, Twitter at the WPBA, and on our website, thewpba.com. And we'll be starting to put teasers out there and let people know who we have. We have some great women.
How do people get in touch with you?
Same way. I will say I have someone, we do have a crew that I have a person, actually my assistant, who, if people reach out on social media, he does send them to me, and he, if I can't talk right back to the person, he'll set up like meetings and stuff like that. But same thing, social media, through the website, we have a contact page. No, I'm accessible.
All right. So any advice for future female athletes that want to get into basketball?
I would say keep all of your options open, because at any day the ball can stop bouncing, whether it's through injury or COVID or whatever it is. Just make sure that for young people, when you choose a school that has a major that you can actually have a career in. Choose a program that's going to make sure you're successful long after basketball ends. And for, adults and pro athletes coming out, it's going to end. So when you're making all the money overseas, invest that money, save that money, buy property, don't just spend it, and then work on marketing yourself and branding yourself and getting skills you need to transition to the real world.
All right. So there you have it. Commissioner Tamika Milburn, who's cutting her eyes at me. I don't understand why, but it's fine. Like I said, it's family, all love. So, all right, we will see you guys next Monday, same time, same place, on the Leadership Men television show with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.